Hi everyone, this is Coach Jorge, head coach at E3 Triathlon Coaching, and in this video tutorial I'm going to teach you the most important documents or guides that we're going to be sharing with you as you start your program, so you can better understand kind of like the terminology or the reasoning behind what we're doing or planning your program in a certain way. So the main two things you're going to receive as you sign up with us is going to be your Training Peaks account. Whether you already had one, you link it to us. If you don't have one, we'll create one from you, and that's going to be the main venue that for us to share your daily training workouts, as well as give you feedback based on the feedback you provide as you complete your sessions. If you are not completing your sessions, or you're not entering uploading files or like heart rate, GPS, power files, or giving us feedback after each workout, then there's not a lot for us to give you feedback on that. So if you're not providing that, then you won't be receiving as much. Also, the other main document you're going to be receiving, it's going to be your Dropbox folder, which is a cloud-based service in which you're going to have a personalized private folder with important documents. This is an example of that in this particular case for myself, and you're going to get some important documents. The first one, as you can see right here, is just what we call the control log, in which basically based on, it will tell you what program do you have and what sort of things you're going to receive on a particular timely manner depending on the program. So here with the top of the top program that we have, the premium integration program, we're delivering the plan every week. We're making adjustments pretty much every week, or sometimes sooner if needed. We're giving training log frequently based on the comments that the athlete provides, and then we try to schedule a weekly phone call, or sometimes not as weekly, might be bi-weekly or whatever. It's based on the athlete's desire. So if they want to do it weekly, we do it weekly. And then we have a series of what we call deliverables that are going to take place because those are included in your program. So for those who are on the performance plan, some of these things are not going to be applicable, like any of the assessments, gait analysis or swim analysis or anything like that. You might only receive one personalized fueling plan and one personalized race plan, and then the interaction is going to be every couple of weeks. The plans are delivered every couple of weeks. For those who are on the basic, you won't have pretty much any of these, as that's not included in your program. The program is only delivered every 4 weeks, and you only have the interaction with your coach over the phone every month. So these will vary depending on your program. The second important document is going to be your season block periodization. It's an Excel document in which, based on the questionnaire you completed at the beginning, or if you're a returning athlete, based on the data that we have gathered over time and the goals that we together set up for the following season, we're going to set up how we envision on the big picture your plan developing over time. This is a living document because we set up over the first couple of months of your program, as we do some testing and we kind of like learn your strengths and weaknesses and different things like that. We set up what would be kind of like the optimal path towards a particular race or goal. Reality is that never happens in a straight line. It goes more like up and down, and things need to change because we might realize that some things are working and some things are not working, so we need to make adjustments. So basically in here, we're gonna set up all those different things, like your needs, your goals, your limitations, based on like work, family, times constraints, what days you can do what sort of workouts. And then we're gonna set up your training based on training blocks, and that's gonna be again based on those needs, goals, and limitations. This just gives you an idea of what you can expect as the plan progresses. So when you need to do some planning ahead of time with like family vacations or work, scheduling different things, you can look ahead and say, it's like when you might be seeing the highest amount of training. So this gives you a pretty good idea. Each sport are going to have a particular focus, and then the longest kind of like workout you can expect on that week is going to be set up here. And in this case, building towards something like Ironman, you can see something for the swim, the bike, and the run. The duration of those workouts are going to gradually increase as you get closer to the race. So we start addressing general things, and then we move into a specific things given the particular distance that you're targeting. For those on the premium program, you're gonna get 2 extra columns or rows. Was gonna be a functional one in which we're also gonna periodize things like strength training, and a nutritional one in which we might periodize how we're gonna address your fueling and your nutrition. For those on the performance plan, you only gonna see the functional lane as well as the swim, the bike, and the run. And for those on the basic, you're not gonna get any of these. So your season planner might look a little bit different, but it's just because based on your program. Also, that's going to be on the summary tab. The swim paces tab, as the name implies, you're going to have your swim paces based on your testing. So all of the testing that we do is based on the critical power model, which is just nothing more. Physiologists realize that by doing certain efforts longer than 3 minutes, so they can be aerobic in nature, we can pretty accurately estimate what might be your potential for longer distances. So in this case, what we're trying to estimate, so what would be your potential for roughly around 50-60 minutes all-out effort, or what we refer as thresholds. This is a very elegant way, because around that time, a lot of physiological things are happening within your body, and that allows us to track many things with just one single variable. And with that, we can determine training zones that are nothing more than man-made ranges that allows to make your training a little bit more efficient. Your body doesn't really know when you're crossing from like an aerobic to a tempo or whatever zone, but it just allows to try to target certain things that might trigger more adaptations that usually happen when your body is exerting at a particular intensity. So once you do your testing, you'll have your threshold, or in swimming we call it CSS, critical swim speed. It's based off that same model, and then we can determine your paces for different durations. The cool thing is that for those doing anything from sprint to Olympic or Ironman distance, you can see what sort of paces you should be able to target for those particular races. But that's why we do the training, so we can make the potential a reality. We have the same for cycling. For those of you training with power, we do some testing. We determine your critical power, or FTP, whatever you want to call it. And then from there, we determine different training zones, and we can get an idea of what you should be able to expect to target within a race, depending on how well your training is coming along. For those that don't have a power meter, we can use a heart rate monitor, and based on that, we can set up training zones. For those for running, we can use a GPS as well to set up paces. Off of that, same deal, you do some tests, and then we determine your critical velocities based on the same model, and then you can determine, or we help you determine, what are your training zones, as well as what's going to be your potential for particular races. Finally, we also determine your heart rate zones for running. Those are different than from cycling, and then we can use all these variables to give you particular workouts that sometimes are going to be based on pace, sometimes going to be based by feel, sometimes going to be based by heart rate or power or whatever. And this would allow you just to always kind of like have a different dose of stimulus for your body, so then we can maximize your training adaptations. That, as I mentioned, is going to be a living document or breathing document. So what we set up today might not necessarily be applicable the following month, but we could try to adjust it a little bit, and always is keeping an open conversation between athlete and coach. So then we can try to come up with the best possible block of training applicable to your program, applicable to your needs, your goals, and your limitations, so you can get the most return on fitness. Other folders that you may or may not have, but everybody's gonna get the guides folder. So in this particular folder, regardless of your program, you're gonna get some guides like what we call the E3 pillars for success. These are just guides that we provide you to help you find a little bit of balance between training and life. So we have a guide for that. Nutrition, what sort of things you can address in order to try to make your training a little bit better from that regard, how you can enhance your recovery, and what we call the training essentials. So things that you can take care of that is just going to make your training more effective. We also have some other guides like what we call the SMART, self-myofascial active release technique, short for like foam rolling, soft tissue manipulation, just to help maintain your body or try to get rid of certain minor tweaks that might come up with training so you prevent developing into an injury. And a stretching guide. We have swimming guides with particular drills or specific resources, tools, or other areas of information that you can access so you can kind of like have a more well-rounded program. We also, within the training essentials, we have a couple of extra guides between the keys for recovery. These kind of like builds on the previous one, that the pillar for success. And then finally, your program guide, so you get a little bit of an idea of the terminology that we're using in any given workout. So all those different guides are going to be included on all of the programs. And now, depending on the specific program that you have, from the premium that they have the most features included, you might get something like a race plan folder. In there, if you're doing a particular race, you're going to get a general guide depending on the distance. In this particular case, you're going to get a general guide from an Ironman distance. And in this particular example, basically just have information about what things you can address on the days leading to a main event, as well as what other things you could pay attention, like your equipment, how you can set up your transition area, how you can approach in general each of the legs of each sport, etc. And then you're gonna have a personalized guide, which now this goes to the heart of your particular things that you're gonna be doing on your particular race. So if you're doing Texas, it's gonna be different than Ironman like Placid or whatever. So we give you specifics based on that specific race. We give you specific pacing and a specific targets, so that way you know what to do. We break down the race in different segments and so forth. So you should have hopefully the best possible strategy. For those who are on the performance plans, you guys might get one very detailed plan just for your main event, and for others you will just get what we call a basic plan. So it looks like this is more like a basic Excel file in which we just give you a more rough suggestion of what you can do for your race, but it's not as detailed, it's not breaking down as specific targets, it's just more general suggestions. And for those of you who are on the basic programs, you guys unfortunately don't get this, but they are available in case you want to acquire one for an extra cost. And then we also have something like fueling plans. In this particular case, in those with our performance and premium, you receive this. Just of you in basic, you don't, but it's available for an extra cost. And you have a general guide in which we talk about all the important things within having a successful strategy for fueling for a race. And also we give you a personalized program. So in this particular case, based on a sweat rate test, sometimes an electrolyte loss test, which is not included but is available for you guys, we can determine what are going to be your needs for fluids, for electrolytes, and for carbs. Based on that, we can make an estimate that if you lose certain amount of weight on dehydration, how it may affect your performance. So based on that, we come up with a pre-race loading plan, so things that you can do in advance to a big race in terms of carbohydrates, electrolytes, fluids, as well as a detailed fueling plan. Now, for those who are on the premium plan, you're gonna get the summary race fuel plan, which is something like this, in which we tell you, break down pretty much what you're gonna need in terms of carbohydrates, fluids, and electrolytes per hour on each sport and before the race. So before the race would be for breakfast, 3 hours before, then what you could consume during the swim, what you could consume during the bike per hour, and then during the run per hour, as well as giving you suggestions of how you can recover. This is great because it becomes also a guideline that you're using for your training. So when you're doing a long bike, you start practicing your fueling as well as what you can do to recover after faster. Same for running. And then these would be what those on the performance and premium would get. Those on the performance, this is it. Those who are on the premium, you get a little extra piece of information, something like this, which is the timeline breakdown, that we take it just a step forward and says, okay, in general you need so much of carbs, fluids, and electrolytes per hour, but based on the race that you're doing, the distance, we can recommend you do the breakdown like this. So for the first hour of the bike, you can break down consuming your 2 1/3 bottles of fluid on these time periods. So every 5 or 10 minutes, you can be consuming your sports drink, and every 5 to 10 minutes, you can be consuming your water. And then around this time, 30 minutes into your ride, you can consume your whatever, your gel or your blocks or your electrolyte pills, all that. So we take it again a step further to really try to help you get the most available useful information to help you develop this strategy, and then on race day you don't have to be worrying about fueling. So again, this is not included, this last portion, the timeline is not included on the performance plans, but if you want, let us know and we can work that for you for an added cost. And for those who are on the basic, again, it's the most affordable plan, but all of these kind of like useful features are not included, but it's available for you guys. And because you're already enrolled in a program, you will get it at a bit of a discount. The final thing that you'll find here is for those who are on the performance plans, you might see some extra folders like a swim analysis or a gait analysis or maybe a bike fit and speed optimization. Those are going to be because you get one of those included on your program. So once we do that, you'll get access to your videos and your cues and your drills and all that. For those of you on the performance on the basic, which it's not included, again, it's available for an extra fee at a reduced cost. So if that's something that might interest you, then obviously it's available. So this pretty much is it. The training peaks and your Dropbox folder pretty much are going to have everything that you need to get your follow your program. But when in doubt, just reach out to your coach, ask for any questions, as many questions that you might have, because we want to make sure that everything that we provide you is clear. Ask questions why we're giving you a particular workout, why we're following a particular block, why do we believe that you need to do a certain amount of training. And the more we can teach you, the more we can guide you, the more we can help you figure out your own body, because nobody's going to know your body better than yourself, the better we're doing our job. If eventually you depend a little bit less on us, like we're making ourselves a little bit useless, it might not be the best thing for a long-term business because, you know, athletes become more independent, but we want to teach you how you can become better by knowing your body. So reach out to your coach if you have any questions. I hope you find this useful, and remember, train smart. Thank you.